So, before I go off to bed or play video games, whatever I'm going to do, I'm wore out. I've got a list. It's a Legends list for Raw and SmackDown. It's a draft. You know, I really miss the old days of the WWE draft when it was like 2002, 2003. The style of the draft they had back then was so much better. So let's do my draft. Uh, Where's the list? Well, that's not good. Me in the middle of a podcast not have your damn list. Where's the damn list? Well, fuck it. I'll take you with me. We'll go looking around for it. If it was, it would have bit me if it was freaking unreal. Right here on the freaking ground, underneath the fucking table. How about that? Sometimes I can shoot from the hip. Sometimes I can't. Tonight I can't. So, for my Legends draft for Raw and SmackDown, are you ready? It doesn't matter if you're ready. For Monday Night Raw. Someone give me a drum roll. China. What can we say about China? She's the 8th wonder of the world. Or was it the 9th wonder of the world? Maybe it was the 10th wonder of the world. Fuck, I don't know. She was a wonder. Trish Stratus. The best WWE Women's Champion of all time, in my opinion. Charlotte Flair, number 2. Second best Women's World Champion of all time. Mick Foley. Oh, well, he has to be on there. If you don't have Mick Foley on your all-time Legends Raw roster, there's something wrong with you. John Cena. You know, I didn't want to go there, but I did because John Cena has the C Nation, and he's got whatever the fuck that is. Randy Orton, the Viper, the Legend Killer, the killer of innocent walruses. He may have given Paul Heyman an RKO. Edge. You have to have Edge on your all-time Raw Legends roster. Because if you don't, you're smoking something. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! That's right, Daddy. Kurt Angle. I'm just a sexy Kurt. I'll make your ankle hurt. Yeah. A lot of people may not remember that. But if you do, you're all right. Triple H, the game, the King of Kings. And if I look into the camera long enough, it'll look like I'm ready to take a shit or fart or shart, something or other. I'm the game. Better know it. Y2J, Chris Jericho, the Ayatollah of rock and roller. And if you ain't down with that, you can go smoke some Coca-Cola. Fuck, I don't know. I was just Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, the Showstopper, the main event, the icon, the guy that made Bret Hart tap out in the sharpshooter at Survivor Series. Mr. Perfect. Have you ever slapped a piece of gum that you spit out of your mouth? Go on, go try it. See if you look as cool as Mr. Perfect. You won't, because you're not perfect. Owen Hart, the Rocket, the King of Hearts, the Black Heart, the Soul Survivor. And just remember, he's not a nugget, damn it! the Crippler, Chris Benoit, the Rabid Wolverine. Nobody has ever had more of an impact on the wrestling world than Chris Benoit. And I hate to say it to all of you out there who are going to say, well, no, he didn't. Maybe in a negative sense. Bullshit. Won't you go watch some Chris Benoit matches, Mark? Bret the Hitman Hart. If you ain't got Bret the Hitman Hart on your all-time Legends of Raw roster, you nuts. One of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. The excellence of execution. I want to say he won the WWF Championship 5 or 6 times. And I think he won the WCW Championship. I can't remember how many times he won it, but I think I got tired of Bret Hart. I didn't get tired of Bret Hart. I got tired of his character in WCW because they were just always fucking with it. Yokozuna, rest in peace, to one of the biggest men and one of the biggest, fastest for a big guy. He was pretty agile for a big dude. I think he got to 600 pounds at one point. I mean, you can't haul that load for a long time. But he was a great worker, a great champion, and from what I gathered from watching icons on the, pardon me, from watching icons on the network, or Peacock, as you might call it, the icons episode for Yokozuna was pretty awesome, and you could tell that he was just a great guy. He loved his family very much. The Undertaker. Now, if you don't have The Undertaker on your all-time Legends Raw roster, you're not a real fan. You're really not. He has to be at least on your Raw or SmackDown roster. If he's not on either one of them, then you are not a real wrestling fan. You probably don't know your ass from your fucking elbow. Been going at it since 1990 in the WWF, or 91, one of the two, Survivor Series. You know, for someone who was in the business as long as he was and kept going as hard as he did for as long as he did, you have to respect that kind of athleticism. You have to respect that kind of commitment and dedication that the Undertaker gave us for so long. Big props to Mark Calloway. If you don't like the Undertaker, you're probably I'm not going to be negative. I just want to tell you to your face you're probably a big jackass, a big turd in the punch bowl, if you will. Have you seen that episode of South Park where Obama's in the White House and they say, we've got a turd in the punch bowl? That's you if you don't like The Undertaker. You Mark. The Rock. The Rock. Leave a smackdown on your candy ass, jabroni. You Rudy Poof candy ass. Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has to be on your Raw, all-time Raw Legends roster. If he's on your SmackDown all-time Legends roster, that's just a little strange to me because I feel like he excelled more on Raw than he did SmackDown. Sure, you saw him on SmackDown, but Raw was Stone Cold Steve Austin's home. That was his staple, and he made it his. I mean, there are still people in the crowd when they have live shows that are still chanting his name and still chanting CM Punk's name. As long as wrestling is around and WWE is around, we will hear Austin chants in the crowd forever. And I wouldn't want my fans of any promotion that I worked in to not chant his name because he is one of the greatest of all time. Scott Hall. The reason why I put Scott Hall on my all-time Raw Legends roster, because he was Razor Ramon long before he was Scott Hall. Well, I guess that doesn't make any fucking sense. But in the character sense, in the gimmick sense, he was portrayed as Razor Ramon in WWF long before he was known as Scott Hall in WCW. That didn't make any sense either because he was known as, what was it, the Big Stud, The big diamond stud, Scott Hall. Just forget I said any fucking thing. Anyways, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, whatever you want to fucking call him. He's on my all-time Legends Raw roster, and his work speaks for itself. His ability to do promos and understand ring psychology and get into people's head, and just the way he moved around the ring. I love Scott Hall, still do. He belongs on there. Kevin Nash, whether he's Kevin Nash, Big Sexy, uh, Big Daddy Diesel, um, or Big Daddy Cool Diesel, sorry. Whether he's from Detroit, Las Vegas, or Arizona. Every fucking place he's ever been billed from. He's one of the greatest to ever step foot in the ring, and he makes the my Raw Legends roster. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan, for obvious reasons. He's one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. And now, on to my all-time Legends draft for SmackDown. We will start out with Sasha Banks. Now, why would I put Sasha Banks on my all-time Legends SmackDown roster? Because she's the boss. Any questions? Bayley. Why Bayley? People are thinking, God, there's two names I wouldn't have fucking put on there. Well, I'm not you, dumbass. Lita. I mean, I shouldn't have to speak for Bayley. Bayley speaks for herself. If her work doesn't speak to you, maybe you should go watch fucking crochet or fucking cricket. Lita. Probably one of the biggest pioneers in professional wrestling for women and for professional wrestling in general. Um, she started a movement. She really did. She was the first kind of rocker kind of chick in WWF, and she came across as hardcore, kind of street. Had not necessarily a bad attitude, but had an attitude. Like a good sassy, spunky, fiery kind of attitude. I'm gonna kick your ass kind of attitude. Always on her A game. Always brought her A game. Whether she was on the mic or she was in the ring, the way she moved gracefully from the top turnbuckle uh, to any opponent in the middle of the ring. Lita was on fire. She was amazing. She's fucking beautiful, and a lot of people that love Lita, and I think that she is highly underappreciated and underrated as a performer. And if I had to make a Mount Rushmore of female talent in WWF, and if you haven't seen that episode yet, it's on here. Uh, Lita would definitely make the cut. All right, on to the guys on SmackDown. I'm going to start out with the greatest tag team of all time. Even though they may have never made it on SmackDown, and I know I said Stone Cold was more of a Raw guy, so that's why I kept them on Raw. Even though I don't think they ever made a SmackDown debut except for one of them. I had to have them at least on one of my rosters. Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. Greatest tag team of all time. Absolutely love them. They are on my SmackDown All Time Legends roster. Um, then I've got a stable here consisting of four men, great black American professional wrestlers: D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, The Godfather, and Ron Simmons. The Nation of Domination. You can't get any better when it comes to professional wrestlers that are powerhouses, or black, or influential, or just all around amazing individuals on a personal basis. I mean, if you watch Table for Three on the WWE Network, you will see inside the minds and the hearts of these gentlemen, and I tell you what, they're class acts. Batista, I should have saved him for a little bit later, but Batista definitely belongs on my SmackDown All-Time Legends roster. Yeah, I watched Dynamite, jackass. Come on, get it together, man. He's going to see that in the video later and be like, "You were talking about me, weren't you?" Well, duh. Rey Mysterio. Pardon me. Let's go back to Batista for a minute. I got distracted, bastard. Someone sends you a message when you're in the middle of a video. Yeah, okay. Okay, Batista belongs on my all-time Legends roster on SmackDown for the simple fact that he's the beast, he's the animal, and he's a multiple-time World Heavyweight Champion and WWE Champion. He's a tag champion. I don't know if he was ever the Intercontinental Champion, but he's one of the greatest ever. Um, I may not care for him on a personal note. I think he's kind of eccentric and just off the charts crazy, but he's probably a really nice guy. Rey Mysterio. Now, although I absolutely hated when he won the World Heavyweight Championship because I didn't think he fucking deserved it, um, when Eddie Guerrero passed away, Rey Mysterio became the charity case storyline and won the World Heavyweight Championship. No cruiserweight should ever win that fucking title. That was stupid. Being the charity case storyline was stupid. Should have never happened. His Royal Rumble win was emotional and it was a great win, but in my mind, they should have gone with somebody else because I hated that storyline. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. Why are they not on your Raw roster? Well, I have so many guys that I think should be on Raw versus SmackDown, and these guys were just as good on SmackDown as they ever were on Raw. And they're the greatest one, not the greatest, but definitely one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Jeff Hardy's a phenomenal athlete, um, and he's one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. Matt Hardy as well, multiple time world champions, multiple time tag team champions, multiple time intercontinental and United States champions. They've won tag titles in other promotions. Uh, you don't get any better than the Hardy Boys, North Carolina boys. Rob Van Dam. Probably should have made my Raw roster, but he wound up on my SmackDown roster. Mr. 420, Mr. Monday Night, the whole fucking show, Mr. Rob Van Dam. Belongs on anybody's all-time roster, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown. AJ Styles. Now, SmackDown was supposedly the house that AJ Styles built. I think it was more like The Rock, but AJ Styles did come along and kind of make SmackDown a little more relevant, I think, because he was the best one on the roster at the time, really. I think other than guys like Cesaro or Kevin Owens, I can't remember every single guy that was on the SmackDown roster at that time, but AJ Styles has been a staple on SmackDown. He's an amazing wrestler and an amazing human being, and I have nothing but the absolute utmost respect for AJ Styles. Um, Brian Pillman probably never made no. He never made an episode of SmackDown in his life, but he wound up on my all-time Legends SmackDown roster just because he's the loose cannon, and there wasn't a whole lot of people out there that could do a better promo than Brian Pillman when it comes to being on the fly kind of thing. He was so fucking good at it. Roddy Piper. When he went up to Jimmy Snuka with the coconut, smashed it on his head. Damn it. So, Roddy Piper, one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest heels, um, such a great mind in the business. I loved anything he was in. There wasn't anything he was in that I didn't like. Junkyard Dog never made a SmackDown appearance. I'll tell you that right now. But he's on my all-time Legends SmackDown roster because he was one of the greatest performers of all time, one of the greatest entertainers of all time, and one of the greatest black professional wrestlers of all time. Um, I wish he could have been around a little while longer. It was a damn shame that he passed away so young. Sylvester Ritter, also known as the Junkyard Dog, uh, really gone way before his time. He was, popular in the '80s and some in the '90s, um, in Mid South Wrestling, NWA, and of course WWF, WWE. If you haven't seen many Junkyard Dog matches, I implore you go watch some. Andre the Giant never once had an appearance on SmackDown, but he's on my all-time Legends SmackDown roster because he is Andre the Giant. Should have been a WWF champion officially, not just handing his title off to DiBiase. Sergeant Slaughter is on my all-time SmackDown Legends roster. He's had some appearances on SmackDown, but I don't know. I don't think he ever wrestled an actual match on SmackDown, and if he did, it might have been with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, right, for sure. But he's one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. What a great, tremendous heel he was when he was going through his prime, and that's why he makes my roster there on SmackDown. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's probably only made maybe one or two appearances on SmackDown ever, but he's one of my all-time favorites, and I absolutely adored Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I think one of the biggest reasons I love him was because I was in football, as a kid growing up, and he had that 3-point stance move and the clothesline, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I loved him coming to the ring with a big 4x4. That was always cool. I think he should have been at least the WWF or WCW champion at least once. I absolutely loved him. The Big Show is on my all-time Legends roster on SmackDown. Uh, Probably could have held the WWF or World Heavyweight Championship title a lot longer each time he had it because every time he had a title, it never lasted very long and it made him look really weak. And I hated that because he's such a big guy and you can't dominate somebody that big all the fucking time, literally. I mean, it's just like, it's impossible. So it never really made sense to me to put a title on Big Show considering that he never really had a lengthy title run, and I thought that was a damn shame. But he makes my all-time Legends roster for SmackDown. The Macho Man, Randy Savage. Oh yeah, the madness. Let me tell you something about the madness. I hear Liz's voice in the back of my mind, or I hear Piper or Hogan or the Warrior, and I just snap, and I don't know what to do. But you know what I do? I go to the ring. I take off the shades. I take off that damn head bandana. I get in the middle of the ring with whoever I'm with, and they know as immediately when they look in my eyes, I am the Macho Man, and the madness lies in your Viney's eyes. That's about as good as I could do. I don't know if that was any good or not. My best one, I think, is Ultimate Warrior, but when I get into mode for that, it tends to come off as a parody. Oh, all the warriors out there know that I just took a shot of cocaine right up the nostrils. And that's why tonight I'm gonna go out there and beat Hogan for the WWF title. The Warriors hear me tonight. All the cocaine has gone to my brain and melted it forever.